All right, hello again. So in this video, we're going to go over importing images and exporting images with Lightroom Classic. See, it says Lightroom Classic right there. So there is Lightroom. Be aware there is Lightroom and Lightroom Classic, right? Maybe you've heard this. Lightroom Classic is the older app that's more desktop oriented, kind of made more, I guess, kind of more for professionals. And then there is Lightroom, which is a little newer, is more mobile oriented. They want you to pay for storage till the end of time, that kind of thing. Yeah, we're using Lightroom Classic. Okay, so I've got a catalog or a folder here. It's empty. I've got a card in the computer. What I'm going to do is make a new catalog. So here's the folder. There's nothing in it. So I'm going to go and make a new catalog. And it's going to go in this folder called Lightroom Classic Demo 2, and I'm going to call it Surfing. You'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to call it Surfing. It could be called whatever you want. Backing up a little bit, some people do keep all their images in the same catalog. Some people make a new catalog for every project. You can imagine if you have 10,000 or 50,000 photos, one catalog is going to get pretty crazy, complicated, and probably won't run very well and things like that. So there's different ways to do it. You can make a new catalog every time. You can make a different catalog for different things, maybe personal work, maybe work, maybe school work, whatever. So there's different ways to organize it. But I'm going to make a new catalog, pretending that we're making a brand new catalog for these specific images. So I'm going to click Create. And I'm not going to save this catalog. And then it's making a new catalog called surfing.lrcat. So if I look in that folder that I had, now there is a folder called surfing in there, and there are, 7 files? 7 files that make up the Lightroom catalog. LRcat as Lightroom catalog, I think. Sounds like a character from something. But, so there are these files in there, but there's no images in there. So the important thing to remember about Lightroom is the catalog does not contain the images, really. You can do sort of proxy images that you can use to edit, but aren't the real version, and then you can apply those edits later. But generally, you want the actual images and you want the catalog at the same time. So for example, if I took this catalog somewhere, even after I imported images and I didn't have the images, I wouldn't be able to actually have the images. They're not in the catalog. The catalog is just a reference to the images and to what you've done to them. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I'll show you at the end, and maybe that'll make a little more sense. So I'm going to go over here, and then I'm going to click on Import down here on the lower left. And then you'll get the import dialog, which looks like this. And there's the card that I have in the camera. It's from a Nikon D500. I'm going to select one of these folders because I know it kind of works. There's a bunch of folders in that card. And then it's very similar to if you saw the video for Adobe Bridge, in that they're all checked and they're going to all get imported if we just start importing stuff. So I don't want all those. There's hundreds or thousands of photos, 999 photos. I'm going to uncheck all. I'm going to click uncheck all right there. And then now none are selected. So then I'm going to go and find the ones I want. I think there's some surfing ones in here that I want. Yeah, here we go. So I can click on it and you see it becomes selected. It turns kind of white. And then I can hold down Command if I want to select non-contiguous or non-touching ones. Or if I clicked on this one and held down Shift and clicked, it would select all of them. So you can do it either way. If you hold down Command, you can unselect certain ones. So let's just say I wanted these, for example. So they're all unchecked, so nothing's going to get imported yet. So now if I check any one of these with this little check mark right there, it will import that image. So now there's, what is that, like 13 images, something like that. That's an unlucky number, but we'll go with it. So up here on the right is where you're going to do most of your work on this file handling panel here. So we'll just go top to bottom here. You can leave most of this stuff the way it is. Previews, you can do embedded or in sidecar. You can leave that. That means there are previews embedded in the files, and sidecar means on the side. You can also build smart previews, which might be something you want to do if you want to edit the images without the images. What I mean is it will make sort of proxy or pretend versions of the images. Not pretend, they're versions of the images. They're smaller and compressed, and they will be stored inside the catalog. And then you could say, take your laptop on the plane and edit images without having the actual images. And then when you reconnect them, it will apply your changes. So that depends how you work, right? I'm gonna just do it just for the heck of it. It might make the files a little bit bigger, but we'll see. And then you've got don't import suspected duplicates. That's kind of obvious what that's for. So you don't have a bunch of the same image. Say you plugged in the same card, so it won't import the same images you've already imported. Then you've got make a second copy too. That is a safety feature, right? So you don't want one image, one file of your image only, right? You only want one copy of your image. What if you got paid $10,000 to photograph this surfing competition? Then you're going to trust that one hard drive or that one computer that doesn't, maybe a shark pops out of the ocean and eats it. It could happen, probably. Right, so you don't want one copy of anything, really, if you're doing anything serious. If it's just snapshots and things, sure. But most of the time, a lot of times, you're going to want a second copy. So you check this, and then you can say where you want it to go. I'm not going to do it because I'm just going to tell you to do it. I'm not going to do it. But that would be the smart thing to do if they are valuable photos. You could also add to a collection. So what that means is you can click on that, and then you can make a collection of these images. So collection is sort of a virtual folder that you can collect images in. I think that's why they call it a collection. So that's what that's for. I'm not going to do that for this one, but that is a possibility. And there's a different video for collections, I believe, so we won't worry about that right at this point. I'm going to have it rename files because, this doesn't mean much to me. DSC8123NEF, that doesn't tell me anything. So I want to rename files. So there's lots of ways to do that. You can click on here and see different ways to do it with custom names and file names and shoot names and dates and things like that. I'm going to go to edit, and then you'll see that it's very similar to if you saw the video about Adobe Bridge. It's very similar to that. You can kind of construct the name. I've already done it here because I don't want to have you guys watch me type a bunch of stuff and add a bunch of stuff in here. But I typed in surfing _ and then I added a date from this stuff. I think from this area, and then I put the file name in from this. So anything you want to add, image name, numbering, additional information like dates, dimensions, etc., you can click on these insert buttons and it will insert it. So let's say I wanted to add dimensions. There, I just added dimensions. I don't really want dimensions, so I'm going to delete it. But and then it'll show you what the file name will look like. So right now it's going to say surfing June 6th, 2025, and then it has the original file name there just so I can have it in case I need it again. So I'm going to say done. So you would have assembled that, but I already did it. And so that's it. So it shows you right there what it's going to look like. Then you get down to apply during import. So Lightroom Classic is an editing application, unlike Bridge, right? So I could apply all these different presets to my images as I import them. So I'm kind of processing them as I import them. I can also make my own. There's one right there. I'm not going to do that, but I could do that. Then I can also add metadata, like information that's embedded into the file, just like in Bridge. I'm going to leave that off, but that would be something that you might want to put in there, but I'm not going to get into that right this second. I am going to put in keywords. So I'm going to put in surfing here. So I just click in there and type surfing, which I think that's spelled like that. So now when these are imported, they will have keywords. So keywords are kind of like tags, and you can search for keywords. So if you imagine like you're a prolific photographer, right, and you have 10,000 images, how are you going to find that one image, right? So keywords are great for that. Oh, I want to find all the surfing images. So you can if you put in your keywords. So that's kind of a good thing to do. And there's another video for that as well. There's also destinations. So I want to make sure I know where this is going and how it's organized. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to make sure it goes into this Lightroom Classic Demo 2 folder, which is the one that I showed you that has nothing in it except for the catalog. And then it says organized by date, by original folders into one folder. I'm just going to do into one folder. If I do by date, it'll make a different folder for every day that was shot. I think these are all the same day, but it gets a little bit messy. I'm just going to say into one folder, so they're all together. So that goes away. But I can do that by date and other ways if I want to organize it that way. I think we are good. I'm zoomed in. That's why it looks kind of weird there. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom right where it says import. And then, before I do that, I wanted to show you up at the top. I almost forgot. So there's 4 options up at the top. I could copy as a DNG. If I click on that, it will convert all these Nikon RAW files to DNG files, which are Adobe Digital Negative files, which is basically Adobe's format for RAW files. NEF is Nikon's format. That's one of the downsides of RAW files, which you maybe saw in another video, is that every manufacturer has their own version. So you could make it a DNG file. I'm not going to, but you could. Copy, and it says what's going to happen here. So it's a little hard to read. It's kind of bad interface design, actually. But it says copy photos to a new location and add to catalog. That's what we're doing, right? There's 2 other options that aren't available because there's nothing in, or not, they're just not available because that's not possible in this scenario. But you can also move files. So if maybe you're just moving a file from one place to another. That's right there. And then there's add. Add means you don't move it. You're just adding them to a catalog without moving them. So you have some files that you dropped in manually or something, you want to add them to the catalog, you could do it that way. We're just doing copy. So, but be aware that those are there. And one thing that can happen when you're importing and using Lightroom in general is it's easy to kind of lose where your images are going. So always know where they're going and what you did. And then you're good. So I'm going to click on import. There's a progress bar up here in the top left, and you can see it's importing those images. And building the smart previews, and I think it's done. Yeah, so if I look over here on the left under the catalog area here, it says all photographs 13, and then previous import 13. So if I import more, which maybe I will, well, no, I won't. If I imported more, it would show up under previous import, and then all photographs would have a bigger number, if that makes sense. You can also navigate through things through here's collections and things. There's, like I said, there's a different video for that. All right, so now if I click on these, this little icon right here tells me that there is a keyword on that. So that's why if I select it, it says surfing. Oh, that's pretty smart, right? If I imported some more, it would give me some suggestions to add more keywords. Maybe I will import one. I'll import one more. I know I said I wouldn't, but I wanted to show you how that works. So I'm going to put the card, I have to take the card out and put it back in, and then click on import again. So I'm going to import one more time and just find something different here. That's pretty different. Let's go up here. Sorry, I'm making you guys look at all these photos. There's way too many photos. Let's click on this one. So I'm going to uncheck all because I definitely don't want all those. I'm going to click on this one. Yeah, let's do this one. And I'm going to select it, right? I check the check mark. That means it's going to be imported. And I'll leave everything else the same. It still says surfing, but I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to import that one. And now it imported that new file. There it is, right? So now you're like, where did my images go? I only have one image now, but they're over here. So it says previous import, that's one, that's the one I just did, and here's all, right? So if I click on all, there's all your images. This one is obviously not surfing, so I'm gonna keyword that one as soccer. So now this one, if I click on it, it says surfing, surfing, surfing. This one says soccer, and you can see keyword suggestions there. It remembers your previous keywords, so you can keep importing and doing stuff and all that kind of fun stuff. So that is the importing part. There's a lot more to Lightroom Classic, obviously. There's other videos and other resources for that, but I wanted to show you now how to export. So let's say you're turning in an assignment. Oh, you did your assignment and you did it in Lightroom Classic, and now you have to get it out. How do you get it out? So I'm gonna select all. I'm gonna do Command A. That's select all. I could have also just clicked on them and held on Shift and done the same thing before. There is publish services here, right down here, where you can send images to certain places like the hard drive or Adobe Stock or Flickr, but I'm gonna do it a different way. I'm gonna go up to File and Export. And you'll get this export dialog, which looks similar to the one in Adobe Bridge, but not exactly. But it's very similar. So you say where you want it to go. I'm gonna put it in a folder in the desktop. So it says export to desktop. I'm gonna go specific folder actually. And I'm going to click on choose, and I'm gonna go to desktop and make a new folder called surfing. Or surfing small, let's do that. Surfing small. And click choose. So now it says it's going to be on the desktop and it's in a folder called surfing small. I'm unchecking this. This would put it in a subfolder from the original, so I don't need that. It's still going into surfing small. So I'm unchecking this. You could add it to the catalog. These are the new versions. I'm not going to because they're basically the same images. They're going to be a different size. I'm not going to rename them because they're already renamed, but I could rename them in the same way that I do with Adobe Bridge. I can construct another. I could rename them again. I did it when I imported though, so I don't have to. But you can also do it on the export. Same process. So I'm going to uncheck that. Video is for video files. We don't have any of that. Here's the file settings part. This is kind of important. I can set my quality slider. Usually for JPEGs, just for general purposes, like for the web and things, you can go around 60. It depends on the image actually. We're just pretending that we're just outputting these to see them smaller, put them somewhere, give them to somebody or something like that. And then we'll leave the color space the same. You might see some other stuff on that later, but we're going to leave that color space. This is basically for web. There's a new, this is actually a new entry. It says early access. That means it's kind of not ready for prime time yet. But this is for credential, basically attribution and originality of images. You know, there's a lot of AI stuff going on. If they haven't already taken over by the time you see this video. And so that's what this is about. We're going to skip that for now. It's not even really finished yet, I don't think. But we are going to do image resize. So I can click resize to fit right here. And I'm going to say I don't want it to be any bigger than 1,000 pixels wide or 1,000 pixels high. I already put this in. That's why it's already there. But you can do other, let's say long edge, actually. And we'll do 1,000. That means the longest side will be 1,000. That'll work. You can also check don't enlarge because images will lose quality if you enlarge them. These are bigger than that, so that's not happening. You could change the resolution. That's really relevant for print. You'll probably see more stuff about that later. I can also sharpen them as I output. We're going to go over, or you'll see stuff in the information in the books and things about sharpening, but I can just do basic sharpening on output here, and I can sharpen for screen and, you know, leave it at standard, and it will sharpen it a little bit for screen resolution. Then you can say what metadata you want to include. You can remove the location info if you want, or person info if it's in there, or not. You just uncheck what you want. And then you can also watermark your images. So you could put a watermark on there so it says, it kind of marks it so that people know that it came from you or that it shouldn't be used without your permission, that kind of thing. And then the last thing here is you can have something happen after it processes. I'm going to say show in Finder so that it will show me in the Finder where it is. So I'm going to click on export, and then you'll see the process again. And then it opened it in the Finder. And now these are the new files. and they're all resized to 1000 pixels high or wide. Yeah. Oh, there's no shark. Oh, I thought there was a shark for a second. That's it. So that is just importing and exporting. We didn't do any editing. We did a tiny bit of keywording. Oh, you can see now that there's keywords on these, right? We did a little bit of keywording, but no processing, none of that. You would do all that in between those two steps. But I wanted to show you how to get images into Lightroom and get them out. Last thing to show you, if I look in that folder, Lightroom Demo 2, Classic Demo 2, yes, this is it. So here's the folder with the catalog in it that we talked about. It's gotten bigger because the previews, we made some smart previews and things in there, so that got a little bit bigger. But here's the actual files, right? So like I said, you need the files and the catalog to have everything, right? If I just take the catalog somewhere, I don't have the images. If I just take the images somewhere, I don't have the catalog. And the catalog has the keywords, any edits you did, all that kind of stuff is saved in the catalog, not in the images. I take that back. Sometimes they are, but that would be it if it's a DNG file, that kind of thing. You can save some of the edits in the image itself. But we'll see that later. I think that's it. So hopefully that helps a little bit with Lightroom Classic importing and exporting, and I'll talk to you again later.